Sunday live. If anybody is out there watching me, maybe you'll just go ahead and in that chat box on the right hand side of the screen, perhaps you'll just let me know you're there and where you're joining me from today. So I hope your day's gone fine so far. It's noon here in North Texas and we have had some weird and wonderful weather in the last couple of days. But I understand from friends and family in the UK that a lot of you have had some snow. So I'm not entirely sure whether or not to say how wonderful or poor you, but whichever way you prefer, I hope you're happy. So today I am going to do a guy card. Now I am notoriously bad at doing cards for guys. And so I thought that maybe it would give me an opportunity to work through some ideas with you, and also to share a technique that I shared with some of my ladies in my class. I think it was in November. Now, I decided I would use one of the new papers that's going to be available in January through April. And I am able as a demonstrator to order these papers ahead of time. And they appealed to me because of these lovely blues. Some of them have got like an iridescent finish, and others have sort of some foiling on them, and then if you flip them over then they've got some lovely sort of printed effect. So if you didn't want shiny, you can still use this paper, the back side of this paper, and you can see it's lots of lovely blues, and those of you who know me know that blue is one of my colours. So I've chosen to use this particular paper. It's got an iridescent finish to it, and it's got a paler on the back side. Now I'm mindful that when we get new stuff, sometimes some of the old stuff tends to get forgotten. So I am using a stamp set called Friends Are Like Seashells, and I'm also using a die set called Beautiful Shapes Dies. And the reason I chose to use this particular stamp set was that when you look at the design on this paper, it's kind of got a sort of a seaside theme. I think that's supposed to be mussels, and that's like waves. And we've got seashells here. Let's see what else we've got that looks like a beachy theme. Well, there we've got some more seaside beachy type things, waves and all sorts. So that's why I decided I would go ahead and use that stamp set. And I thought it would work well for a card for a fella. Okay, so I see some more of you have joined me. Perhaps you'll just go ahead and let me know who you are. Don't be shy. Just in that chat box there, and let me know where you're viewing from. So the technique I'm going to share with you today is called Twisted Ribbon. And as I say, I decided that I would use this particular paper because one side is dark and then the other side has got a very light finish. And I just found for myself that I like the effect better if there is quite a contrast between the shades, the light and the dark shades. So this is my paper. As I say, you can see that it has got a direction. So when I'm gonna use this, I need to be mindful of that direction so it can keep me on my toes. I'm just going to open up the screen a little bit to see if we can get just a bit more in. Hopefully that's better. So I'm going to start by cutting some strips, and I'm going to cut the strips 3/8, and I'm just going to line this up on my 3/8 mark. I hope this is in screen. Anybody that's out there, perhaps you just let me know that this is working here. Now, I see a lot of my fellow demos. They use their cutting up like this, and I've tried to do that, and I have wasted so much paper. So you'll have to work with me while I kind of use it the right way up. So hopefully it is in shot there. So I'm going to need probably about 3, maybe 4 strips. I'm not quite sure how many. So I'm going to do 3 because I can always cut a 4th one if I need it. So that's the first bit. And my next bit is I'm going to take a small piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch intervals along this long side. Hopefully we are in shot here. Yep, looks like we are. So I'm just gonna 3/4 of an inch, so that's 3/4, then 3/4 is 1.5 inches, and then another 3/4 is an inch, is 2 1/4, then 3. And there's my marks on there ready for the technique. Now I'm also going to use my silicone mat because I'm using liquid glue and little bits of paper, and I really don't want to get adhesive all over my workbench. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put some glasses on because I need to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to be laying my lightest piece down first. And if you look, I'm not quite sure if you can see, but when I use my cutting tool, it kind of leaves a bit of a ridge there. So I'm just going to use my bone folder to just smooth out that ridge so that it lays nice and smoothly down on my cardstock. And this is not a fault of the cutter or anything, it's just the pressure that you put on the blade to cut, and it just smooshes the paper down the cutting groove a little bit. But this is now all nice and smooth, and it'll lay nicely on my paper. Okay, so my first piece of paper, I am going to put this top corner here to this corner here, like that. And I'm going to take it so that the top edge of my piece of paper just hits that 3/4 inch score line. I so hope that you're able to see that. If anybody's watching, could you just let me know that you can see that? So I'm going to put a little adhesive on my paper, and I'm not going to pre-cut the length because I don't want to miscut it. It's easier to cut a long piece off than stretch a short piece out. So as I say, there's my top corner of the piece of decorative paper going to that corner and down, and it's just hitting my score line. Hopefully you can just see that, and I'm just going to gently ease that off, And then with some scissors that I don't mind getting a little bit of adhesive on. So I'm just going to flip that over there and add it there. Now my next piece, I'm going to place that tip there to the bottom of that second score line, and this time it's going to go to the top. The top is going to go to the second score line. Sorry, let me get this right. So it's going to go, this side is going to go to the first score line, and this is going to go down to the second score line. And if you look, the angle is absolutely perfect there because I cut it off at that side. So we're going to go down with the adhesive again. Okay, add a little adhesive, and as I say, I'm going to place that top corner there on the first score line and bring it down so as the top of my paper is just resting on my second score line. And then I'm just going to trim this off. Now you can do this on a much bigger piece of card, but I didn't want to do a huge one on the video because it can get a little bit repetitive. Now this piece here is going to be too short, but I'm not going to throw that away. That's going to come useful in a few moments. So I'm going to get my next piece, and again, this time I'm going to line up that top corner with the second score line on that left hand side, and I'm going to bring it down so that it hits the third score line on the right hand side. And that's really the purpose of the score lines, is to make sure that you just get an even interval between each of your pieces of paper. You could do it with a pen and pencil, or a pen or a pencil and a ruler, but I just found it easier to use my scoreboard. And now I'm just going to the last piece, long piece. So again, 1, 2, third score line on the left hand side. I'm getting my rights and my lefts mixed up here, and down to the fourth score line on my right hand side. So we're going to trim that off. So there's my one layer, and I'm just going to trim those pieces off. Now we've got quite big gaps top and bottom, so I'm going to fill them with these pieces, these shorter pieces. So this one, I'm going to use that angle that I just trimmed off, and I'm just going to line up this bottom corner with the bottom corner of my little piece of white, and that hopefully should give me the right angle. So I'm just going to put a tiny little dot of adhesive on the piece of white. Make sure I got it the right way up, and just place it there like that. Okay, so that has given me an even border there, or an even gap, and now I'm just going to go in and just trim that off there. Now this piece has got a lovely long angle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to that top corner, and I've got an angle here, that I'm going to line up with this top corner there. And if all goes well, I should have a fairly good, even gap if all goes well. Right, it's not going as well as I hoped it would. So let's move it so that it would there. Okay, I think if I line this piece up with there, and I will have a little gap there, but it might get covered up by the other, when I put the other side down. Okay, so I can see that some of you, I've got some folks joining me today. Welcome. I hope you're having a good day. Perhaps you'll take a moment to give me a thumbs up. Let me know that that you're enjoying the video or my live performance. Okay, so I've got that piece there, and then I'm just going to trim this off. So there's my one side. Now I'm going to go back to having the smaller piece of the smaller score line toward the bottom, and I'm going to go in with my front piece. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this piece like that. So it's going to cover the piece I've already put down, and it's going to go in the opposite direction. And if you see, because this paper has a direction, I've either got to choose to have it so that those pretty little lines are going up or they're going down. And so I'm just going to do them going up. And so this piece, as I say, is going to go over the second one and going up to here. So we're going to put some adhesive on. And I'm going to place it so that it covers there and it covers that top corner. And smoosh it a tiny bit so it's covered. And can you see that little piece that was showing underneath that corner there has been covered up, so I don't have to worry about that again. I'm just going to trim that up. I've got bits on my scissors. Okay. So my next piece, I'm going to layer over the, if you like, the 1, 2, 3, 4th strip. 1, 2, 3, 4th strip. And it's going to go up and it's going to cover the bottom of this one here. Once you kind of get your eye in on these strips, this is really a fun technique to do. And you can obviously choose all sorts of different colorways to suit the theme of your card or your project. Trim this off. Okay, now this next piece is a bit too short, but I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to leave it to one side, and this one is going to go over this here, and it's going to go up so it covers the end of that one there. Okay, so make sure it's the right way up. And all my end pieces are covered. And then this piece here is going to go from here up to here. And if you always use the end that you've just trimmed off, you're going to get a nice angle to work with, so you're not wasting a lot of paper trimming the top and the bottom. Let's just ease that up slightly. Perfect. How are we doing so far? Okay, so I'm going to tidy up these bits here, and then I'm going to be adding to these two corners here. So I've got my scraps again. This is a great way of using up scraps of your decorative papers. I hate waste, and so I tend to keep these, and then these little scraps, and then wonder to myself, well, what am I going to do with that? Well, now I've got the answer. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to see if this piece will go down here, and I think it might. And as luck would have it, it's even going in the right direction. I've still got my little splayed pieces, whatever they are, going up and out like that. So I'm going to see how I can get that onto there. So let's see, because that needs to line up with there. I am going to have another little gap there, but I'm not going to get too uptight about that. Okay, I think that piece is going to fit in there. I might have to do a tiny bit of trimming. And let's try putting this side on first. So if I inspired anybody to try this technique, it's really fun, and you get such a pretty effect. And there we are. So it took a little bit of time, but I think the result is really, really pretty. It's got lovely iridescent, it's not too crazy mad. Okay, so to finish it as a card then. So I had a little think, and I got out some supplies. Now my natural inclination would have been to go with the dark blue. I told you that navy blue was one of my favourite colours. But I checked the back of the packet, and it gives me the colours that have actually been used in this paper. And so I looked, there was like Balmy Blue and Night of Navy and Coastal Cabana. Well, I looked at the colours that of the piece I chose, and this is definitely a Balmy Blue. So I'm going to choose, that's going to be my card base. And just to bring in a little bit of fun, I decided I'd just make a quick and easy fun fold to share with you. And that's what I call my Lazy Z, or Lazy Z, where I've just got a piece of card that's 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. And all I'm going to do is to fold it in half and fold it back on itself, and there I've got my nice Lazy Z fold. just a little bit different than you just using a straightforward fold like that. Then I thought, well, I don't want to bring in any other card colours, so I'm just going to layer this piece onto another piece of Balmy Blue. Now this, I believe, was 3.5 by 2. Let's just double check that for you. Yeah, 3.5 by 2. And so I've made this piece 1/4 inch bigger, and so it gives me a little bit of a border. Looks like the adhesive has decided it's going to dry up. I think we're good on this one. Maybe it's got a little bit dried in the hole. Well, I'm not having any success with that one. Okay, I think we might be good now. Ah, there we are. So we've got some adhesive. I'm going to just stick that down, and you can see that all the score lines that I put in to guide me are no longer visible. They've all been covered up, so we don't have to worry about that. So there's my piece layered. Now another product that I haven't used as much as I should have done is this lovely metallic papers, and it's called the Silver Specialty Paper Pack, and you get 3 different types of silver. So there's this sort of darker shiny, there's a light shiny, and then sort of a medium matte, a medium coloured matte finish. So I thought, well, that'll be perfect for a guy card. And I managed to just scoosh that corner up with that paper, so I'm just going to fix that. There we go. I thought, well, that would be perfect for a guy card. And then I thought about embossing it with an embossing folder. But when I looked, it's kind of got a texture all of its own. And so I thought, well, I'm going to leave it like that without too much extra texture on it. And I'm going to layer it onto my card like that, so that when it opens, that piece of silver will stick out. So I'm going to add the adhesive to this piece of cards, this side of my card, because I don't quite know how far I need to put adhesive on this side. So I'm going to just lay that down. I'm just going to check that I've got an even border. There we go. Okay. And so that will go like that. Now I know I've got a lot of, if you like, shiny bling on this, which is maybe quite a lot for a guy card. And I was thinking that I could put this piece, I think I might put this piece down like that. But it looked, again, a bit plain. Okay. Maybe some of this twine. It's silver, but it's still sort of quite manly. And I just thought, let's see what we think. Let's wind it round a couple of times and see what we've got here. What do you think? Is it too much? Nobody seems to be sharing an opinion today. So I'm going to go ahead with it. I'm just going to go ahead and have just put a simple knot. I've wound it round twice, and I like to sort of cross it over. You could lay it side by side, I guess, but I quite like to just cross it over, partly because it adds an additional texture, and I love texture. Right, my fingers are a weeny bit sticky, so I'm struggling a bit with this here. I'm just going to trim that piece off and then just slide it around a bit until I'm happy. And I think I want to try and get my, how can I get my knot a bit closer to the middle? Okay, it was a good idea. But that's what happens, you see. I've not actually made this card before. So I haven't really worked out all the little... Okay, I think I've got that now. So let's pop that together with some dimensionals. Pop one in the middle there. And I think what I might do is I've got some Scotch tape here. I think I might pop a piece over like that just to hold that in place. I think that might be a good idea. There. Okay, I think I'm happy with that as well. Right, I haven't got any stamping on my card yet, so as I said, I am going to be using Friends Are Like Seashells, and because this is like a sort of a seashell effect, I think it's supposed to be, I'm going to use some seashells. Now this piece here is empty, it's troubling me. I don't like to see that much empty space, but I don't want to put anything, any paper or anything there. So I think I might just add a few seashells. And I'm also going to need a piece to go here to write on. So I think I'm going to add a seashell there. And I have used Night of Navy there. I did. I gave in, didn't I? And used the colour I said I wouldn't. But there you go. And then I've got another of the small shells. And I'm going to pop that up on that corner. And then I'm just going to bring these shells in a little bit on there. So that when you open the card, it's going to be like that, isn't it? When you open the card, you'll have that there just to give it a little bit of interest. All right. I'm just going to pop this piece inside while it's handy. And then we'll look at finishing the front. I don't want to smear my ink, so I'm just being really, really, really careful there. Okay, so there we go. I'm quite excited about this one. I think I've surpassed myself when it comes to the cards for fellas. As I say, I'm not terribly good with them. Now, here in the middle, up there. I think I'm going to set it here, like that. And then that can give me some room up here for a greeting. I think that's what I'm going to do there. Now, my greeting, I decided that I would use some dies. Now, the Beautiful Shapes dies is exactly that. We've got circles, hexagons, there's kind of this sort of wobbly, squashed circle effect. And to save a bit of time, I decided that I would cut a circle, that small circle, and cut a small hexagon. I thought a hexagon would work for a fella. And since this stamp set, well, it has a birthday. It says, "Happy birthday to my beautiful friend." I'm not entirely sure. I think that's a bit gushing for a fella. And some of these were sort of quite large, and I wanted something quite small. And so there is one here that says "For you." And I thought, well, you know, you could send a birthday card that says "For you" on the front, and then inside you could say, you know, wishing you a very happy birthday, because even though it says "For you" on the front, it still says, means, you know, it's for you on your birthday. So I thought that would be the easiest and less gushing one to use. So we just use a little bit of that balmy blue ink. And I thought that the hexagon is kind of with the straight edges is quite a good one to use, not too frou-frou. And too feminine or not insufficiently for a fella. So I think I'm going to pop it there. Now, rather than guess where to put my dimensional on the back here, all I'm going to do is to stick it right on that top corner there. And then when I add this, I know it's not going to stick out or overlap on this piece there. Okay, so there we have my card. I can see that some of you are watching but haven't put any comment in or made any comments there, but nonetheless, thank you very much for joining me. I do hope that you have enjoyed this card, and I've given you some ideas for a fella, as well as using a technique. And some of the products, a new product, as well as some of the ones that we have already got, or I have already got in my stash, so we don't keep forgetting about all the things that we have when new things come out. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, perhaps you'll go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to make a comment underneath, I'd certainly appreciate that. And then if you don't already subscribe, maybe you'll go ahead and hit that subscription button, and then you'll be able to follow me for all the videos that I put out. I have over 300 on my channel, and maybe you'll think about joining me next week for my Sunday Live. Well, thank you very much once again. Bye for now.